Satanic lie number 3. God needs me. Synopsis of the devil's propaganda lie number 3. Truth. God does not need us. Lie. God needs me. Analog truth. Yours is the kingdom. Analog lie. Bringing in the millennium is possible. Denial. Denying and seeking to replace God's control of history. Impetus. Objective arrogance. Manifestation. Self-righteousness. Scriptural reference. Lord's testing. Do not put God to the test. Lord's prayer. Lead us not into temptation. 1 John 2:16. Boastful pride of life. Counter virtue. Hope. Counter vice. Hope in human solutions versus God's deliverance. Object of worship. Satan. Main issue. Bringing in the kingdom only brings in Satan's kingdom, the ultimate evil. Truth number 3. God does not need us. Beyond the fear-induced lie that seeks to deny our need for God, and beyond the subjectively arrogant lie that seeks to claim an equality with God, lies a third, subtle step in the progression of falling prey to the propaganda system Satan has established to bend the human race to his will, seeking to help God. Subtlety, it will be remembered from the previous installments of this series, is a hallmark of the devil's strategy. It is, of course, right and proper for every Christian to want to please his Lord, as we have just affirmed in the previous section, but only according to his will. When Paul went to Damascus with every intent to have the leaders of the Christian community there arrested and brought back to Jerusalem for trial and what amounted to judicial murder, on some level at any rate, he felt that he was doing good and helping God by working to eradicate this blasphemous sect. In reality, of course, he was persecuting Jesus Christ and his church, Acts 9:5 and Galatians 1:13, the cause to which he would later devote his life and for which he would ultimately lose it. During the tribulation, things will come to such a pass that similar evil done in the name of God will be universal. But a time will come when everyone who kills you will think that he is making an offering in worship to God. John 16:2. The reader can easily supply other examples of evil called good taken to similar extremes, but what concerns us most in this section is the more common, much less obvious, more subtle behavior of helping God in general. Such a mindset is, in and of itself, offensive to God. God does not need any help. He is God. Whenever someone thinks in this way, they overlook the obvious truth that God does not need us. He's omnipotent, perfect in every way. No one can oppose him or his plan, although that is exactly what the devil is trying to do. As we saw at the beginning of this series, Satan's entire rebellion was predicated on the vain hope that God would not be able to find a way to justly eliminate his opponents and restore the completeness of his creation, so that he would be forced to allow the devil to remain in charge as the new de facto ruler of the universe. In this cause, Satan portrays himself as a hero, providing benefits to his followers that God would not, doing good, in effect, and so helping God. Does it seem absurd to describe in such terms one who has actively taken up arms against the Lord of the universe in an effort to depose him? How much more absurd should it seem, then, for pitiful mankind to think that we can help him and to arrogantly strive to do so against his will? This is the issue. God wants us to do true good according to his will. That is what he wanted from Satan, and what Satan had every opportunity to do in great blessing and satisfaction. God is not, however, going to tolerate the devil, or us, deciding for him what is good to do. It is, admittedly, a subtle point, a point that turns entirely on the will of God. Doing God's will is good, and is doing good in truth. Doing what God does not will is not good, and is doing evil in truth. And it does not matter if every single human being on the planet thinks something is good. God's opinion is the only opinion that matters. Yes, this is certainly a subtle point. If God says something is good, it is good. If he says something is evil, it is evil. If God desires us to do something, it is good and right that we do it. If he wills us to refrain, it is sinful and evil to persist. Everything turns on what he wills. Therefore, if we are wise as Christians, if we truly fear God as we should, what God wills, what he wants us to do, and wants us to stay away from, should really be the only issue. It is bad enough to reject his provision and trust in things instead, bad enough to seek our own glory instead of his. But what is truly the height of arrogance, objective arrogance, is when we take the attitude of not needing God past feeling ourselves equal to God all the way unto thinking that we can somehow help God. For now we have not only expressed lack of need and lack of respect, now we have reduced God in our thinking below our own status. For we can help him, though we don't need him. And he is, in this blasphemous mode of thought, not smart enough to figure out what is truly good. Has God not told us of his will? Certainly he has, as Paul reminds us. Their voice has gone out into all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. Romans 10:18 with Psalm 19:4. Through his prophets and apostles, through the witness borne to him by his creation, through the Holy Scriptures, vast and deep enough to occupy every waking moment of our lives, God has made his will in Jesus Christ perspicuously clear. If we have chosen to ignore it, if we have chosen not to seek it out, that is certainly nothing that can be charged to his account. Lie number 3, God needs us. Failure to seek out God, failure to seek out his will, inevitably leads to making faulty assumptions about what he is like and what he wants from us. Satan counts on this tendency and makes great use of it. For example, the world and its history are filled with pseudo-religions and religious movements that have absolutely nothing to do with the true living God, though if any single person who bought into such lies had ever expressed a desire to know him, he would have and has made himself and his ways known. Ignorance of God, of his truth, of his word, is one of the devil's most powerful weapons. For almost everything that Satan hopes to accomplish on this earth must come through human beings who have been molded to his diabolical will. And the best way to induce people to follow the devil's will is to first misinform them about God's will. In most cases, this is not a difficult problem for Satan, since the majority of mankind in any given period of human history has had absolutely no use for God or anything he might say. Once the true will of God is removed from the picture, replacing the true good of God with a fabricated, satanic replacement, good, is a relatively easy thing for the devil to accomplish. With this third lie, Satan sucks unwitting humanity completely into his world system. Rejecting any need for God, for truth, for seeking God and obeying his will, human beings, blinded by their fear and self-centeredness, buy into the devil's propaganda that tells them they can produce good apart from God, as if God were incapable of accomplishing all his will. How you turn things upside down. Should the potter be equated with the clay? Should the thing made say to its maker, "You didn't make me"? Or should the pottery say of the potter, "He didn't know what he was doing"? Isaiah 29:16. Serving him, and in the process, accomplishing the good he has preformed for us to do according to his will is one thing, but deciding on the basis of our own arrogance what is good, regardless of what the Lord thinks about it, is not really helping God at all, but is helping the devil maintain and strengthen his control over the world. For you have been saved by God's grace through faith in Christ, and this did not come from you, it is God's gift. Nor did it come from what you have done, lest anyone should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for the purpose of accomplishing good works, which very works God has prepared ahead of time for us that we might walk in them, that is, live our Christian lives in the accomplishment of them. Ephesians 2:8 and 9.